Glad you're with us. Probably going to do one next Monday as well. I know it is a holiday Monday for most areas, but yeah, I think because it's the end of the weekend, we'll be doing that. So we're back to our regular twice weekly, which is Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and Thursday, 8 p.m. Pacific. 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Okay, so some things I want to get going again are the pictures. And we have some pictures here. The first one comes from our good friend Alex in Israel. And this is not his car, but he thought it was kind of interesting to show you. That's the Range Rover Evoque, but the convertible. Not many of those around. And they don't make or in North America anyway, they don't offer that two-door version of the Range Rover Evoque anymore. Then we have, this is Jerome Levesque Boucher from Quebec. And he sent an email. There's his e-Golf. And he went on to say, he said, Zach, good news. I'm listening to your advice, so I'm doing my homework for my next car. I'm looking at a small luxury crossover able to handle the harsh windy and snowy winters of eastern Quebec. My shortlist is the XC40 and the Q3. My problem is I like both of them. I asked dealers for the pricing, and they're both within 34 cents Canadian of each other. So it comes down to which one is going to hold its value after 5 years. So here's a picture of my not worth anything Volkswagen e-Golf. And he says, apologize because my mother tongue is not French Canadian, of course. So not a problem. I think the English was just fine. I got to get back to my screen here. Okay, so what I suggested that Jerome do is go to CanadianBlackBook.com and then find what the forecasted value is of the car. And he did that, and he got back to me and he said, you wouldn't believe it, both the XC40 and the new Q3 are predicted to depreciate pretty much the same way. So then it came down to which one is his wife going to like. So that's never a bad decision, to let your wife have the tiebreaker. Oh, by the way, if you want to get your pictures in to the show, Zach at motormouth.ca, Zach at motormouth.ca, that's Z-A-C-K or Z-A-C-K if you're from the U.S. Okay, first of all, this is Amrit Grewal with his Audi S4. That's a beautiful look. S5, I should say. What is it? Yeah. And then here it is with the wrap on it. Isn't that beautiful? He put a gray wrap on it. And here is his Jeep. He's got a 70th anniversary Jeep as well. So that's great to see. James Dumas is a regular here. And he's just been on a major road trip from northern Alberta all the way down south. He went from Red Deer all the way down to southern Alberta and all the way back up again. And this was his view most nights. Camping. Absolutely gorgeous. Now that is a beautiful part of the country. If you've ever been through Alberta and the Rockies, it's absolutely gorgeous. And then next we have, oh, that's a question. So I apologize. I think I got everybody. I guess I got everybody. That's good. Okay. Let's get into the questions. Any super chats? No super chats. Oh, we do have a super chat. Let's get that on first. If you want to put a super chat on, I'm all down for that. Adam G says, good evening, Zach. Glad to see you on. Well, there you go. I'll take that. Appreciate it. Okay, let's get into the questions now. Can you talk about Acura's super handling all-wheel drive? Other reviewers say it makes cars drive like a rear-wheel drive platform. Is it that magical? No, what's super handling all-wheel drive is a torque split system, and what they have is an all-wheel drive system that has the ability to shift torque around, not only for traction but also for handling. So I remember driving the latest RLX, and it's quite interesting when you go into a corner. You kind of have to, instead of just sort of coasting through the corner and then applying the brakes smoothly, you have to pivot onto the gas and actually give it gas through when you would typically just be coasting through the corner. And what that does is the vehicle senses the yaw or the pitch of the car and the fact you're going through a corner. It can sense wheels turn in as well, and it will shift power to that rear outside wheel to help push you through the corner. So it's an adaptive system that's always moving and adjusting. So that's why it has the ability to make it feel like a rear-wheel drive car, but it doesn't drive like that all the time. But it is a more advanced all-wheel drive system. Do you think there'll be an appetite for car makers to go to a subscription pricing model? So for a fixed monthly rate, customers can choose to drive different models. Volvo did this or mentioned this approach. Yeah, Cadillac tried it. Cadillac tried it and got out of it. Volvo has more of the in the United States. They have a better subscription model than the one here in Canada. There are actually dealer groups that are doing this. I know here where I live in Vancouver, Open Road, you can sign up for their model and you can get a different car every week. You can keep a car for a month. Say you want an SUV, you can get an SUV. Then you can switch into a sports car. This is particularly good, especially if people are writing off a large part of their lease, say if you're a realtor or something like that. It's not inexpensive, but when you get the subscription model, it includes the insurance, right? So that's a big part of it. Is this going to take off? I don't know. I mean, it's been tried already semi-successfully by some brands, but most of them haven't been that successful. M2 with the competition package or a 718 GT4. I don't know. I like the GT4. I mean, the M2 is a really cool car, but I just think for resale value, probably the Porsche is going to hold its better. It's price better. Cayman GTS 4-liter or save $30,000 and get the 981 Cayman GTS. I don't know. These are nice problems to have. It depends on your budget, right? I mean, it really comes down to it. If you can afford it, get the newer one. Why not? Went from a 09 Porsche 911 C2 to a 17 BMW M3. Thoughts? I mean, are you happy with it? I'd like to hear what you think of it. I think that, you're going from a base model 911, not that there's anything wrong with that, up to sort of a high performance car, nicely balanced, bigger car, back doors, easy to use. I mean, it's a very, very nice car. But as you will see, it's the same thing I just mentioned about the last question. It's resale value, and for sure that 911s just hold their value incredibly well. So there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it was the first year of the direct injection flat six boxer engine in the Porsche lineup. Excuse me, in the 911 lineup. First year for PDK. First year for Bluetooth. I mean, so that BMW is going to feel like a much more modern car. Do you have high expectations for the new 400Z or the new 400Z? I would say that yes, I kind of do. And what I'm seeing from Nissan is quite encouraging. A lot of people ask me here on the live show what I thought of Nissan or were they going to survive. I mean, lots of bad news coming out right now. Sales are down. They haven't been able to turn things around that quickly. I mean, Carlos Ghosn is gone from the company. A lot of executives left and those sorts of things. But what I'm seeing in their new product lineup, the first one that gave me a great sense of hope was the new Sentra is fantastic. The new Rogue looks very good. I mean, it looks like they're putting money and investing into product. And that's how you get into trouble, but it's also how you get out of trouble. If Nissan can come with good product, and it looks like they are, then I think that they can turn things around. How much? We'll have to wait and see. Plus, we have to wait to find out what the details of the car are. Hey, Zach, what seems to be hot new cars in Canada right now? What is seeing quite a few on the roads this summer? Well, it's all utility vehicles. Anybody that follows the market knows that it's basically utilities. If you're looking for exciting sort of sports cars, yeah, I think a couple of the ones that have been mentioned already, the new GTS, the 4-liter, and the GT4 are going to certainly be hot. But yeah, I think that it's quite interesting. It's like what gets car enthusiasts excited? Very different than what gets the average consumer excited. The average consumer is going to the dealer and buying an SUV, and not so much sporty cars. The 2022 Genesis G70 loses the manual transmission. I'm allowed to whine comment because they actually buy new manual transmission cars. Has that been confirmed, Eric? I didn't see anything about that. Unfortunately, these things often are a function of the way the United States market goes. A country like Canada doesn't do enough volume to demand a special transmission like that. Unfortunately, fortunately, they offered a manual transmission. It'd be interesting to see what the take rate is of it. The fact is it's not on the larger engine. It's only on the 4-cylinder. I think if they offered it maybe with a 3.3 liter, it might actually sell more manuals because everybody else has gotten out of it. And that would be a unique setup, but that's not the way it goes. I was wondering how the Mazda CX-3 is selling in Canada, seeing many of them on the road. It doesn't sell nearly as well as they had hoped. And the main reason, I believe, is because the vehicle is just too small. The CX-3 really is a subcompact car. It's based on the Mazda 2 platform, which is not a big car. And I think that the CX-30, the larger one based on the Mazda 3 platform, is going to be the one that people want. I would almost predict that the CX-3 will go away. I thought that when they brought out the CX-30, they might just call it the CX-3 and call it a day. Now, that car, interestingly enough, seems to be popular with older empty nester baby boomers looking for a car that they can drive to downsize. They still like the idea of sitting up a little bit higher and having a sort of a fun little drive vehicle and want maybe all-wheel drive, but they don't need a big vehicle. That seems to be who's buying it. Daniel is asking, do you see Chrysler getting any rebadged Peugeot, Citroën, or DS models as part of the Chrysler brand? Yeah, I bet you there's going to be something in the works. I mean, they did the same thing with Fiat. And if you think about where they can pull from, in Europe, they have a lot of platforms, a lot of engines, and a lot of things that they can pull together. So you've got all of the European Fiat models, and you've got all the European Peugeot side of the family now, and there will definitely be some maybe platform sharing, those sorts of things. It's going to be interesting to see how they do, because when you go to Europe, you see a real line between the north and the south. In the south, it's Fiat, Seat, those sorts of vehicles do well in Southern Europe. Northern Europe, the sort of more price-conscious cars tend to be French. So I think there's a bit of a line there. What we're going to see, I have no idea. I mean, they're probably trying to figure it up as best they can now. Portuguese Water Dog, how much should I expect to pay for a PPI? Well, I think it really comes down to the brand. If you're doing a PPI is what's called a pre-purchase inspection, and anybody that's buying a used car should do a pre-purchase inspection. I've got a bit of a story on that in a moment. But it depends on the brand, right? So you're paying a different shop fee for a Chevrolet than you are for a Porsche. So you send a Boxster to the Porsche dealer and you want to do a pre-purchase inspection, you're going to pay a lot more than if you send, a Chevy Traverse in to get a pre-purchase inspection. So just do the math on that. The shop fees is probably going to be less expensive, but I would say probably anywhere from $150 to say $300 is what my best guess would be. Now, prices and may vary, especially depending on where you are. So here's something interesting. A colleague of mine who I work with in television in Vancouver here, BCTV or then Global, her husband wanted to get a fun convertible and had spotted this particular Boxster, and it had all the documentation on the car. He had all the person had been meticulous about keeping all of the records and everything. And I said, well, that sounds like a promising one. That's really what you're looking for. But I said, please, 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 please get a pre-purchase inspection. And sure enough, he sent it in to get it inspected, and it came back, and they found scoring on one of the piston walls, and some other things that came out of that. So the car wasn't that expensive as a used Boxster goes, but I said that saved you the most money. And my advice to him was spend more and get a better sorted car than to get an inexpensive car and then have to spend a lot to fix it up. So he saved himself who knows how much headache and money by spending a few $100s to get a pre-purchase inspection. It's the best insurance you can get. Well, we got a good super chat here. Hey Zach, beer o'clock. Stay safe. Have the cough check soon. You know what? Here's the reality about me coughing. And I don't know if you watched the Explorer video. We left the cough that I did in there, just as kind of a fun thing. And where is that son of mine? Jacko. He's not there. Beer o'clock. So we left the cough in there of me sort of having a coughing fit as kind of like a fun thing. But I have acid reflux, which is called GERD, if you know what that technical term is. So acid comes up from your guts into your back of your throat and can spill into your airways. And that's why I clear my throat and I cough. I had been on medication for over 10 years, and I got off of it a year ago because there's some issues with taking it long term. So I'm just trying to live with it and try to stay clear of things that give you a lot of acid. But when I talk and I'm using more air and I'm using your stomach muscles to sort of enunciate and broadcast, that's what happens. So it's nothing more than that. I don't have COVID. I don't have lung cancer. I don't have anything like that. I just got that. Oh, I hear somebody coming. Is that you, Jack? Come in.
You knew before I was even here.
Well, you know what took you so long, man?
Yeah.
Well, that's good and cold. Say hi to everybody. He's got his October's very own shirt on. Get that in there.
There. Canada. Yeah.
And who's gonna? Jack's a Blackhawks fan.
Yeah, here.
Blackhawks fan. And how are the Raptors going to do?
I think they are either going to go to the finals or lose in the conference finals.
Okay, there you go. Your sports report from Jack. He's the big sports head in the family. All right, cheers, everybody. So I drink and you slam the like button. That's how it works. I don't see it going up. All right. This is a good one. Have a delicious guacamole with that beer. For those of you who watched some of the reviews who talked about me eating guacamole, this disgusting green slime. I can't even, like, avocados are nasty, nasty, nasty. Okay, back to the questions. Where the hell was I? Super chats. Got to get back up here. All right. Eric saying, loses the manual, I'm allowed to whine. Okay, we did that one. Do electric vehicles really save money versus gas, electricity cost versus gasoline or diesel? Well, you got to buy an expensive electric car. That's the problem with electric cars is, you know, if you take away incentives, electric car sales go down to almost zero. So right now, so here's what's happened in the U.S. I mean, it depends on where you live. Like if you live in California or you live on the west coast of Canada where I am here, you see Teslas everywhere, right? But when you get away from the west coast and away from those areas, you see less and less of them. Like I go to Toronto, or I did until recently regularly for business, and I saw very, very few Teslas. And that's because the government got rid of incentives just as the Model 3 was about to come out. And when you take that, you know, foot off the gas, pardon the pun, the sales just go way down. And that's one of the issues I have with electric cars is it's all incentive based. And people look at Norway and they say, well, Zach, in Norway, everybody's buying electric cars. Well, because the tax incentives are so huge, you would be a fool not to buy an electric car in Norway. And that's why, you know, people are buying them. You take away the incentives, it's a different story. I did a trip from Calgary to Tofino in 9/11. Best drive of my life. Yeah, that is beautiful. It depends which route you took. I mean, it really is a great drive. And driving from the ferry from Nanaimo over the spine of the island to Tofino is a great drive as well. So there you go. Hello from Edmonton. My wife and I are looking at getting a CX-5 of the last generation. Which year would you recommend or not recommend? Well, I think if you can afford it, if you're going to the last generation, go to the sort of the newest one. I do not recommend the 2-liter Skyactiv engine. You want the 2.5-liter. And you want the sort of the newer ones because you get more safety features on more trims. And also you get better in-dash technology. So they did, when did they change the model year? Was it 16, 17, around there? It's the one with the rounded nose, not the sharp nose it has now. So if you can afford that, here's the thing is the latest CX-5 is basically an evolution of the first Skyactiv one. So you want a Skyactiv CX-5 with the 2.5 liter. That's what you want. I'm just going through some of these. How much clearance do you need? Is all-wheel drive sedan a viable option in a snowstorm like Quebec or Ontario compared to all-wheel drive SUV or crossover? Well, you do definitely have issues depending on deep snow where you can scrape the bottom of the car. Like we had an Audi A7, which is a pretty low-slung sedan. But, you know, when we had on occasion some deeper snow, and here where I live in Vancouver, they don't plow the side streets. So we would get in these ruts and you could hear the sort of muffler scraping on the snow once in a while. So if you live in an area where the roads are cleared, it's not going to be that much of an issue. But if you live in an area where you have deep snow and you don't get the roads cleared quickly, then you might want to opt for an SUV. But the actual traction component of it, the all-wheel drive, or it all comes down to the tires. And if you live in Quebec, you know it all comes down to the tires. What are your thoughts on the state of Alfa and Fiat in North America? I don't see Alfas or non-Fiat 500s often. The 500X, I think, does okay. They're trying to do a reboot right now of Alfa. Alfa this year is 110 years old. They didn't have the Stelvio and the Giulia with the new updated interior at the beginning of the year. So for 2020, they were really kind of hamstrung because they didn't have the inventory of cars. Now heading into the fall, they're going to have the sort of last 2020s and the 2021 models that have the all-new interior with a much improved dashboard, better infotainment system, nicer steering wheel, and those sorts of things. Exterior styling wise, no, not really much difference, and they didn't really need to because the cars are actually great looking. Handling wise, they didn't need to change that because they were already really at the top of their class. It was the in-dash fit and finish and materials that needed to be updated. They're hoping with that it's going to create some interest, but we'll have to wait and see. As for Fiat, I don't know. I don't know. I think Fiat dealers are probably, I don't know. I don't know how they're getting by because the numbers of Fiats being sold are really, really quite low. Hello from Colorado. So between for reliability, should we stay away from Mercedes, BMW, Porsche like S-Class, or is a Lexus a better pick, especially for high-end dollar cars or even resale value? If you're just going for straight reliability, the Lexus is going to be, tops. But Porsche is right near the very top when it comes to reliability as well. So I really need to know which car you're looking at, right? So There's if you could be more specific. Zach, do you think it's worth waiting for a facelifted Q5 later this year, or just getting the current Q5 right now? Well, you have to look yourself in the mirror and think to yourself, are you going to be okay driving the model that's been out for 3 or 4 years, or are you going to want to have the newest and the latest? So is that the kind of thing that's going to bug you? So you have to ask yourself, are you motivated by having the newest and the best, or are you motivated by maybe getting the deal? And that's where you need to go to Car Cost Canada and sign up using the promo code Motormouth, because look, it's funny that I talk about certain brands, they pop up behind me. There's the Q3. When you're looking for a vehicle, often it comes down to the deal. So Car Cost Canada is going to be your friend in the months leading up to the new one arriving. What kind of discounts and deals are going to have on the current model, and probably not many new deals on the new one, because people who have maybe had one now for 3 years are going to maybe want to return it and get the updated version if it's a lease, and most of them are leased. So you have to answer that question and be honest with yourself. Are you going to be okay driving the one that looks dated, or are you going to want to drive the new one? If you want to drive the new one, it's going to be a different price. Hey Zach, 2020 Tesla Model 3 standard range or 2020 Bolt EV? I don't know. I mean, one is a hatchback, one isn't. I think that you're probably, if you're going to get a deal on one, you'd probably get a deal on a Bolt. Yeah, I like the Bolt. I think it's a great car, but it comes down, like, that's competing more with other hatchbacks, like the Leaf with the new range, the Kia Soul, the Kona Electric is selling very, very well. I think that the Model 3 is, just rear-wheel drive, but that's fine. You put proper winter tires on it, you're going to be just fine. Same thing. What's your budget willing to take? And if you want to save money, then the Bolt is probably going to be cheaper, and you're probably going to have incentives on it. Once again, that's why you need to check Car Cost Canada. What are your expectations for the GMC Yukon with the Duramax 3-liter? Any feedback on that diesel in any other vehicles you've tested since already put in their pickups? The only thing I would say, David, is I did drive it, the Duramax, in the GMC full-size pickup truck, the 1500. I was hoping it would be quieter. That was my my one takeaway. It had a bit more of that sort of classic diesel sound than I thought it would. I love the layout, though. I mean, an inline 6-cylinder engine and its diesel just speaks to me. If you want the smoothest and the quietest, the Ford, the V6 that they use, the 3-liter, is very smooth and quiet. And the Ram engine is very good, that the Italian-based one that they're using. But it's not going to be available readily yet in any of those other, apparently, they're putting it in the Expedition, but we haven't heard an announcement on that. So the fact that it's going to be in Yukon is definitely encouraging. Are you doing a lot of mileage? Okay, that's the thumbs up sip. So we're at 74 thumbs up on 180 people. You can do better, people. Smash the thumbs up. You know what'll happen? I'll say do the thumbs up sip, and then some dick will give me a thumbs down. Wait for it. Wait for it. It's going to come. So that's my take on that. I don't really have anything obvious to share other than that. How reliable is Nissan's CVT now? This is a pet peeve of mine. It's not a CVT transmission. It's a CVT, because the T is transmission. So it's not a continuously variable transmission. It's a CVT. Okay? It's like an ATM. It's a bank machine. You don't go ATM machine, because that's what the M stands for, machine. Okay, so I got that off my chest. It's a CVT. I'm not, by the way, Frank, I'm not picking on you. A lot of people say this. Has it improved or been redesigned since the 13 timeline? It's interesting you bring this up because this week we have the Nissan Kicks as our test vehicle. Andrea and I will be doing that video this week. It'll probably be out in a week or two. And driving it and having a chance to drive the new, not the Sentra, not the Ultima. I got to tell you, I think that they are improving them. There's still questions around reliability, because there are certainly a lot of haters of the CVT that they use in Nissan products. But I will tell you, when it comes to drivability, they've improved. Like that new Sentra is actually one that I was really impressed with, to the point that I would say that the Sentra is maybe the best all-round car in that new compact class. It, however, doesn't have the track record of the Corolla and the Civic. That's the only reason I wouldn't suggest it, is because those two cars have such a strong track record. But yeah, the CVT in that is much, much better. Hey Zach, summer weather is finally here in Alberta. Have you driven the 90s Dodge Dakota? No, I never saw that. The convertible Dodge Dakota, I haven't driven that. And it's funny because, you know, Ram, Dodge, FCA, they're going to be bringing one back apparently, a Dakota, but there's another missed opportunity of having a mid-sized truck, and they let that get away from them. I guess you could say that the Gladiator kind of fills that spot, but yeah, I'd love to see one come back. And no, I never drove one. Is the Matrix all-wheel drive still a good car to buy? Yeah, it is. And the only issue I have with the Matrix is it's a 4-speed automatic, from what I remember, and never got a 5-speed. So it's not fast in any way. It's kind of underpowered for the all-wheel drive system, but it depends what you're using it for. If you're just using it as a little commuter car and you want to get extra traction, yeah, you're going to get that out of it. Now, the other one you want to look at is, if you're looking at that, is the Pontiac Vibe. And the vehicle was co-built and developed, so General Motors and Toyota. And the car was made, the Pontiac was made in the factory that they sold to Tesla. So the Fremont factory where they make the Tesla is actually an old Toyota, sort of General Motors co-developed factory in California. So look at that one as well. It'll do the job. Nothing exciting about it, though. T. Lau, hey Zach, a virtual cheers. I'm having a Sapporo tonight. What's your choice tonight? It's a Stella. I didn't pick it. Jack picked it. Oh, I do like Stella. I like Beck's. I like a lot of things. I like more, and by the way, I like Sapporo as well. I like sort of light, easy drinking, sort of German-style beers. Those are like Pilsners. Those are my favorites. Hi from Quebec City. Is the Porsche GT3 a daily driver? Yeah, sure. It could be a daily driver. Of course it could be. But it depends on what you're used to driving. I mean, if you're used to driving a sports car on super bumpy Quebec roads, then yeah, maybe. But if you're not, it's going to feel like your fillings are going to fall out. But it all comes down to what you're used to. Would a GT3 be my choice for bumpy Quebec roads? Probably not. But it'd be nice to have one, wouldn't it? Yeah, I love that car. Do you believe in independent Porsche garages where they don't charge you an arm and a kidney for service? Well, they're still expensive, right? You're not paying the same price you would for a Porsche Center to do the work, but this is specialized for the most part, and it's also your special tools that they need, and it's the training and the computers to run diagnostics and all those sorts of things. What you're really paying for is the expertise of the person that's doing it. So you have to ask people, like if you have a 911 and you run into somebody else that has one, or you see them at the gas station filling up, ask them, where do you get your car serviced? Do you go to the dealer? Do you have somebody else? Can you recommend somebody? That's when you're going to get the best person, okay? Why doesn't Lexus have a compact car like the A3? It would definitely sell. Well, remember they used to have the little Prius-based, what was it called again? I'm trying to remember the name of it. It was the hybrid. And they had that. They also had another hybrid I'm trying to remember the letters that they used, but they did have compact cars, and they got rid of them. They were both hybrids, though. But the Lexus IS is not a particularly big car, so it's not going to be that much bigger than an A3. Raptors for the win. Shout out from Montreal. Yeah, well, it's going to be exciting. Did you hear the news today about baseball? I'm trying to remember what team it was. Florida team. They had like 13 or 14 of the team members test positive for COVID. So they shut that team down. And the team that they played is also shut down from playing, I believe it's the Yankees tonight. And so this idea that you can play Major League Baseball and travel to different diamonds and do that, I don't think that's going to work. I think that they should have done what they're doing with hockey and basketball, which is have everybody in one area. Maybe it's in Phoenix where they have all the spring ball, or I don't know about Florida, but even Phoenix has, I don't think it's going to work. I think you're going to start to see MLS get shut down, because when you're having people traveling, getting on planes, off planes, in and out of hotels, going to baseball diamonds, I don't see how that's going to work. I think the NBA, NHL formula for keeping everybody centralized and testing is the way you're going to be able to do it. Which begs the question for the NFL. I mean, how are you going to play a contact sport like football with COVID? I just don't see how it works. And they haven't even come up with what they're going to do for the CFL yet. I don't think I've heard that yet. Why is Jack not a Knucklehead? Well, I don't know. For whatever reason, he loved Edmonton for a while. Then he went to the Blackhawks. He likes Patrick Kane. But trust me, if the Canucks, that is his number 2 team. If the Canucks made a run in the playoffs, he'd be all down with that. Zach, is the new Bronco cool? If yes, how do you convince a person who disagrees? Who cares if they don't like it? If you're going to buy it, who cares? That's the great thing about the world. If you like it, that's good. Do you think the Santa Fe 2020 is better than a CR-V and a RAV4? Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the Santa Fe. I think you get the classic case with Hyundai that you get good content for the money. There's nothing wrong with those vehicles at all. Whether it's a Hyundai or a Kia, they make excellent products. And you're starting to see the general public is catching on to this now, especially with vehicles over the last few years, like the Palisade and the Telluride, and the Kona is sold incredibly well. Now we have the new Seltos. By the way, somebody's been asking me to do a review on that. I finally got the booking for the Seltos in September, so it's about 5 weeks away. I'll get that car. But yeah, you're starting to see that people are opening up their minds to the Korean brands a little bit more. And this situation we're in with COVID and a lot of people watching what they're spending, they might have to buy a new car, but they don't want to spend a ton of money. That's where the Korean brands are going to do well, because the Korean brands offer value, and they did very well during the 08, 09 Great Recession, and they're going to do really well in COVID because the brands offer so much. Josh is saying, and by the way, Josh, nice to see you here. I was told by the employees at the Infiniti dealership that Infiniti will be rebranding as Nissan Plus. What a dorky name. What do you know about this? I don't know anything about that. I haven't heard that at all. But Nissan Plus is kind of a dorky name. I don't know. Maybe they're just using that as a placeholder. Oh, somebody's writing in here. Yeah, the CT200H. That was the car that Lexus had as a small A3 competitor. Yeah, but Nissan Plus, I don't know. I'm getting a Porsche. Which shop should I go to, or a good shop for a BMW? No, you want to go to a Porsche shop. You want to go where someone knows Porsche cars. X5 or latest RX? X5, all day. The inline 6-cylinder engine in the X5, the 4.0, fantastic. That new X5, I thought, was a fantastic job. I think they did a really, really good job. Oh, super chat coming in. So we got to say hello to Joe. This is Joe Egan. I see VW EV van in the background. How on earth has VW not released an EV van yet? This will be massively popular in the States. I feel VW completely missed an opportunity. Any inside intel? Well, Joe, I can tell you it's coming. It will be coming. I am one of the few people who actually got a chance to drive that. There is a video on the channel of me driving it. Now, it's not really... okay, it's basically a rolling auto show car. I think it has, barely electric platform under there. It drove about 10 miles an hour and basically enough to move it on and off auto show stages. But Volkswagen is going to have a whole bunch of what they call the ID cars. So they showed, where were we? What auto show was it? Frankfurt, I believe. They showed the ID3. Yeah, Frankfurt was in September. The ID3. And the ID3 is their Golf-sized electric car that's already for sale in the European market. By the end of this year, so we've got 6 months to go now to the end of the year, they will show the full production version of the ID4, which is going to be their electric SUV for the North American market. So think roughly the size of a Tiguan, but electric. And then after that, we're going to have a cadence of more electric cars coming quicker. And one of them is what's called the ID Buzz. So there is going to be the electric Volkswagen van. And Thomas Tetzlaff from Volkswagen Canada, my friend who's the PR guy there, he says he has seen it. And he says people will be impressed. So there you go. That's all he could say. Hey, Zach, should I pick up an 18 M2 or M2 competition? Well, the competition's a lot more power, right? You're going to get quite a bit more power. So the M2, but the M2 is a nicely balanced car. I mean, how much power do you need? That's what you have to ask yourself. Are you going to be driving you're going to be driving this car to 9/10 at all times, or do you just want a good daily car? Because the M2's fine. But then again, when you start looking at the M2 compared to the 240, the 240 really is the car to buy, but it doesn't have the same look. So kind of circling around it, the 240 really is the deal. To get another 20 horsepower, you're going to go to the M2. Not really worth it. But if you're going to go and get the competition, well, that makes quite a difference. So, yeah, competition. I love spending other people's money. It's great. Drippy Sam's. Would you recommend a good shop for Volkswagen? I don't know what shops. I don't even know where you live. Where do you live? Could you recommend a good shop for a Volkswagen Golf? I don't have no idea where you live, Drippy Sam's. Is the CR-V hybrid coming to Canada? There have been it has not been confirmed nor denied. My guess is when the vehicle is redone, they will bring the hybrid then. Unfortunately, we're not getting it now. Hello from Maryland. Do you think the up-and-coming 2021 Acura TLX Type S will be a contender for Audi, BMW, and other sports sedans? It's going to be interesting because we have to drive it to find out. On paper, yeah, we don't have the numbers yet for the larger engine, the Type S. We only have the numbers for the regular sedan. I think that on paper, yes, it's definitely a contender, but the proof is going to be into how it drives. So I think the real challenger that they're looking at is for like the G70, what they were able to do with the G70 at Genesis. It's going to be a competitive car when it comes to pricing and leasing and those sorts of things. And that's where the battle is often won between these compact performance sedans, is what kind of leasing and incentives there are. And that's why brands like BMW, Mercedes, and Audi are so powerful at being able to pump cars into the market, because they have such strong residual value programs, great lease returns, all those sorts of things. But I think that Acura, like, nobody's driven it yet, so we'll have to wait and see. I hope it's competitive. Single malt. A Bex for me today. Slam the like button. Vintage 911 still going up in price, especially in Europe. Yeah, that's money in the bank. Vintage 911s are a great place to park your money, enjoy something, and then go and sell it years later, and you're going to make money. It's like buying a vintage Rolex Daytona. You get to wear it, and then you sell it, and you're going to make money. I agree with you. What's your recommendation, CX-5 or Tiguan? It all comes down to space. If you don't need the extra space, I would suggest that the CX-5 is arguably a better materials on the inside, nice looking car, nice handling car, all those sorts of things. I think they do a very good job. However, if you need the extra rear legroom, because the CX-5 isn't the biggest in its class, if you need the option of a third row seat, Tiguan offers that. And Tiguan also has some other things like a big panoramic roof you can't get in a CX-5. So it really comes down to that. All right. Acura TLX or IS350 as a used car. I would probably lean towards the IS350. Especially the first generation of the TLX wasn't a fan of that, because the early iterations with the new transmissions they put in didn't really work that well, in my opinion. They got better, they improved them as the years went by, but if you're looking at an older car, I think Lexus all day long. How can I do backflips and pour Cheerios in my new car? I have no idea. How do you feel about the Audi lineup moving towards screens for the center console? Do you think they're still trying to recover from the Dieselgate as manufacturing is cheaper? No, that is not the case. You got to remember, Dieselgate broke in September. I know exactly the date because I was in Frankfurt for the motor show, and it was the 18th of September 2015, because September 18th is Jack, who came in earlier. That's his birthday. And I remember flying from Frankfurt on the 17th because I needed to be home for his birthday, arriving back home, waking up the next day, and reading all the news about Dieselgate. So the screens that have now been implemented in the latest batch of Audi cars would have been the engineering for that done long before the Dieselgate scandal happened. Because the first cars that we got a chance to drive with the multi-screen for me was the A7, which has been out for a couple of years, maybe 2 or 3 years now in the European market. So the engineering for this is all backdated about 5 years. Okay, so it's got nothing to do with Dieselgate. What has happened though is if you look at the J.D. Power initial quality study, the latest one that just came out in the last couple of months, what's happened is Audi and Mercedes-Benz went right down to the bottom of the initial quality study for the first 90 days of ownership. And it's pretty obvious to me why. They went to this, what's called MMI Touch. Those are the screens. And Mercedes-Benz went to the MBUX, the Mercedes-Benz user experience. So all new interfaces, all new learning curve for people who maybe owned their products before. And that's what gets the cars back to the dealer more than anything else. Learning the idiosyncrasies of these electronics, having faults and problems with the electronics, things locking up, not working, those sorts of things. For example, I have an issue with the Mercedes-Benz user experience because I have an Android phone. When I get an incoming call, it doesn't pop up on the screen. I have to find the telephone thing in the computer and then open it, and then I can answer my call. Once I've done that once, then it works. I don't understand that. So these are the sort of things that really hammer initial quality studies. And that's why, in my opinion, those two brands have like plummeted down near the very, very bottom. So I don't think that, I think that a lot of these brands are going to have to learn again and again and again the hard way that pushing new technology on people doesn't always work. I mean, I appreciate the look and everything of the new Audi screens. I prefer not having them, in my personal opinion. Okay, another super chat. Hey Zach, from your experience before storing a Porsche for winter, is it better to get an oil change before storage? Is fuel stabilizer with fuel tank of gas also recommended? It depends on the mileage you've done on the car. If you own a Porsche, you know you have to do what's called an annual service. I wouldn't worry about it that much because you're probably going to be, storing the car for about 4 months, maybe 5 months tops. You want to inflate your tires above the recommended tire pressure. So you kind of overinflate the tires a little bit. You can get a flat spot on your tires, so that's not a bad thing to do. Fuel stabilizer, it's a no-brainer. Go and get that and put it in the gas tank. Put a battery tender on, that's the cigarette lighter, goes in the cigarette lighter. It's plugged into the wall. It just keeps the battery at, it's not like a major charger. It's a little trickle that goes in there, keeps the battery happy. And these are all things that you can do. But changing the oil, I wouldn't worry about that too much. Okay, if you were getting close to your annual service anyway, then yeah, do it. But I wouldn't worry about it too much because the synthetic oil that they use in those engines is good for up to, I think it's 20,000 kilometers. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. All right, where am I going now? A lot of drippy Sams. Okay. I understand the issues with the N brand and AMG brands getting diluted, but I would say that they were already diluted. Majority of M3, C63 MG drivers aren't even enthusiasts. They bought it for the badge. Yeah, but that's fine if they have the money. We just did an AMG review. It hasn't been edited yet. It's going to be out in a week or two. And we drove the the GLC 43 AMG. And here's the thing. What is the biggest market in the world for cars? It's China. And Chinese buyers traditionally are very badge conscious. They like the best on the car. They like to show people that they've bought a high value car. It's a very image conscious society. And the surge of the Chinese market is also correlated nicely with the surge of putting AMG and M on everything, because you can have those letters on the back of your car signifies a prestige brand and a more powerful engine, and that really speaks to the Chinese market specifically. So that's why it's been done for the most part. Excuse me. I will say that I kind of thought it was just all a marketing exercise, and then I drove the GLC, the 43, and I have to say it does have some nice performance updates as well. But this isn't going away anytime soon. We're going to see this from all brands. Like you're going to see Type S used by Acura through many, many other vehicles as well. Hello from Colorado again. Between the latest S-Class Coupe convertible, BMW, I guess 6 Series or 8 Series, 911, and the LC500 looking out for reliability and resale. Well, a 911 convertible is probably going to be the one that has the best resale value. And I would say the Lexus is going to as well. The S-Class is going to just depreciate like an S-Class. And the BMW, not going to be great for resale value. So I would suggest it's between the Porsche and the Lexus, and then it comes down to which one do you like. So there you go. When it comes down to reliability, those would be the two that I would say are at the tops when it comes to reliability as well. So those are two good choices. Okay. Just going through some of these here. How long have we been going here? Almost an hour. We're getting close. Drippy Sam's. It's 1:35 a.m. in the morning in England. Well, there you go. Jolly good show. What is your view, speaking of this car, the GLE? No, this is the GLE 43 AMG, is a family SUV. Yeah, that's what it's designed for. It is a family SUV. That is what it's designed for. It just happens to be the one that has more power than the base model. So yeah, go for it. What do you think about the 2020 Honda Accord 2-liter turbo? Should I be worried about oil dilution? No, that's not the engine that has the issues. It's the 1.5. So that's the base engine on the Accord. I like that car. And if you drive manual, get it while you can, because that is going to be gone. Gone, gone, gone. How come nobody reviewed and praised about Outlander PHEV except for you? I see lots of used Outlander PHEV on the used market. Any ideas? Thanks. Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure a lot of other reviewers mentioned what I did. It's the best-selling plug-in hybrid electric vehicle in the world. I mean, credit where credit is due. Mitsubishi, when it was still an independent small company, are the ones that pulled that off. There is going to be an updated PHEV next spring with more range, and this is being brought in because what's arriving next month is the Toyota RAV4 Prime, their plug-in hybrid. And I bet you quickly that will end up being the best-selling plug-in hybrid vehicle because Toyota just has such amazing might and power in engineering and marketing and plant capacity. They're going to be able to make more. But yeah, I think that why are there many available on the used market? I have no idea. But a lot of people that had them bought them and they like them. Any reason to get a 2020 Macan Turbo over a GTS since the engines are mechanically identical seems like a waste of money for the turbo. You do get more power out of the turbo, and it's quite a bit more. So they detune the engine for the GTS. I think the GTS is the perfect sort of, that's enough. Is it 375, I believe, right off the top of my head? I mean, come on, 375 horsepower. But the GLC 43 that we just drove has more power than the GTS. And the X3 M4.0i, or whatever the hell it's called, with the inline six-cylinder also has more power. But I think, come on, how much power do you need? I think the GTS is a fine car. I love the look of it. I love the interior. But yeah, it isn't as powerful. Thoughts on the new Lexus IS? Well, I've mentioned this before, and I think it's not going to be enough. I mean, there's going to be some hot new cars in the market, especially that TLX, the Type S. Genesis is going to be bringing out a facelifted G70 and so on. So I don't know. I mean, what Lexus trades on is the fact that they're Lexus and they can sell cars because people want to buy a Lexus, and that's really the way it is. I don't think they did enough to the interior. I think the exterior styling looks good. The engines are carried over. The platform's carried over. The interior doesn't look much better. So I think that they could have done better. Thinking of getting a second row SUV and keeping for 5 years. Honda CR-V or Forester for better resale value. Should I lease a Tiguan, Equinox, and Outlander? There's a lot going on in that question. CR-V, Forester, Equinox, Outlander. I think for resale value, the Forester is probably going to be the clear winner there. I know in the Canadian market where I live that they win all kinds of awards for resale value. Each one of these vehicles certainly has its high and low points. For example, the interesting one is when it comes to quality, the one on that list that you probably don't realize has some of the best quality is the Chevy Equinox. And a lot of people don't know that. They just go, oh, come on, no, it's not the Chevrolet. But I encourage you, when you get a moment, to look up quality scores from J.D. Power for the Chevy Equinox. And it's a surprisingly good car. If new Corvette is 65 to 90K, why would anyone buy an M3 RS5 or other Germans? You can get a mid-engine supercar for cheaper or same. It comes down to marketing. It comes down to what makes you feel good. It comes down to exclusivity. It comes down, like an RS5, that's a beautiful car, dude. I mean, I don't know if you've ever looked in one and sat in one and driven one. Now that is like a massively fun car. 450 horsepower, 2.9 liter engine. It is fantastic. That is a great car. So yeah, it's not a mid-engine Corvette, but the mid-engine Corvette's not an RS5 either. So That's what makes the world go round. If you're considering a C8 Corvette, watch an excellent road test review with Savage Geese. There you go. Plug for Savage Geese. Who's this Drippy Sam's fool? Go away. When getting your oil change, what filters are must change? I feel mistrustful if the shop pops up saying you need to change this and that. Okay, here's the thing is, for every car, there is a Bible for your car. It's called the Owner's Manual. And in the Owner's Manual, there is a service guide. It is the Bible for your car. It is also the least read book in the world. The newest thing on a used car is the Owner's Manual. Never been opened. So do yourself a favor, crack open your Owner's Manual, go to the service intervals, and follow what it says in there. So every 2 years, you need to do this, 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 and this. Do it. Every year, you need to do this, 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 and this. Do it. That is the Bible for your car. That was set out by the engineers who made and developed your car. Do what it says in the book. Go to the dealer, and when they say, oh, we really need you to do this, 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 and this, and go, no, that's what the Bible for my car says. Do that. That was what I'm required to do, and that's what I'm going to do. And please do that and charge me whatever the fee is for that. It's not that hard. So when you think you're getting fleeced, or you think you're getting overcharged, or you think you don't know what to do, open the glove box, pull out the Owner's Manual, open it up, and read it. It's amazing. And that's not just you, dude. I mean, that joke's been around forever. The least read book in the world is the Owner's Manual in a car. All right. Your comments on the Ford Bronco, agree, disagree that it'll be a hit out of the park. I think it's going to be a hit out of the park, out of the gate, certainly. Reading stories about all kinds of reservations for them, and I think the Bronco is just so unique and different that there's going to be a whole bunch of people who want it. Is it going to be able to live up to the hype? That's going to be a story for another day. I think that it's based on the Ranger platform. Having driven the Ranger off-road with their off-road package, I found on-road it was too, it kind of did this on the road, and then off-road it felt happy there. But I'm going to be interested to see if this Bronco has the same kind of on-road attributes. It might not be, and that's the one thing about Jeep with Wrangler. It's been a continuous development of that vehicle forever, and the one thing about the Wrangler is it does a good job on road. The new one is vastly improved, and it's still very capable off-road. So yeah, the Bronco is going to be a hit. There's no question about it. Thoughts on the Lincoln Corsair? 73-year-old family member is moving on from an MKZ. I really like the Corsair a lot. In fact, it's my favorite in the Lincoln lineup. I find the new Lincoln, the Aviator and so on, they're way too soft for my taste. The Corsair has more of a European German car sort of feel to it. It's not nearly as roly-poly. It's a little more taut. The engine's great. The interior's fine. It's actually, of the bunch, is my favorite in the Lincoln lineup. So if they're Lincoln people, it's a fine vehicle. All right, I think we got to the bottom of the list. There's Drippy Dick or whatever his name is keeps putting on here. Anyway, I am going to say goodbye, farewell, so long. I will be back Thursday, same time. That's 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Don't forget to sign up for Car Cost Canada. Use the promo code MotorMouth. Get the deals. By the way, one of the people that was on here earlier, Jerome from Quebec, 3, and he got the prices from Car Cost Canada. So that's good to hear. Okay? Thanks to everybody. We will chat with you on Thursday. Take it easy. Bye now.